Welcome to another product session at Microsoft Advertising. I'm Rukmini. I run all engineering for Microsoft Advertising, and I'm really privileged to have this conversation with you. I focused this talk on a very narrow slice of our product suite. It's a narrow but really critical slice of our product suite. And so I'm going to dive in with quite a complex slide. Because, do you do it? Okay. So our focus today is specifically about agentic advertising. And when we talk about agentic advertising, you have agents that are being built to interact with consumers, and you have agents that are being built for publishers and advertisers. And so as we talk about agentic advertising, Microsoft Advertising is approaching it from both directions. As you all know, we are hard at work on Copilot. Copilot is our companion for the user, always on the side of the user. As we watch the conversations between the user and their companion, we realize that the current ad formats are not going to work as is. And so we are devising, designing, strategizing what these new ad formats look like in a conversational interface. So we are approaching it from that angle. On the other side, we also realize that as these companions not just have IQ, but they have AQ, they have EQ, you're going to have to invite other agents into the conversation. And so we are building agents with advertising partners, and I'll give you a demo of one of them. These are called brand agents. These agents represent the brand. They talk about the brand. They know the values of the brand. They can share the communal stories of the brand. And so we're also approaching it from the angle of building agents for the brands for a new agentic internet. Now we know that we're building these two things in parallel. And if you heard Kaya yesterday, she talks about this in her talk yesterday, that we think that these two things are going to converge. But for all of you who are in agencies, who are marketers, who are creators, these are your stepping stones to figure out how this agentic internet, this agentic advertising world is going to work. And so I'm going to focus on these two products and then also the advertiser tools that make creating these products easier for agencies, marketers, and advertisers. So I'll start with the first product, which is called showroom ads. Showroom ads are essentially a window of opportunity in a conversation between the user and their companion, where the brand can actually participate in this conversation and respond to the user questions to this conversation. You're among the first to see the demo that I'm going to show on next. And we do have a booth in the back where you can actually play around with this demo. I'm super happy to let you know that Mercedes is the brand that we went to pilot with. I'm very grateful to them because we had to work hand in hand with them. This is a really managed product at this point. And so I will run through this concept, and I hope to get feedback from you for our product teams that are here and for our sales teams that are here. If you play this video, this is Copilot. A user is on Copilot, and they're asking, they already have a Mercedes, and they want to upgrade their Mercedes. Copilot comes back and gives the user a few choices. Now the user is really interested in the Maybach. I met one of our German salesperson here, and they reminded me that it's not Maybach, it's Maybach. And so they ask about the Maybach, and showroom ads pops up because it's the perfect relevant time for the ad to show up. Now this is a showroom. When the user clicks on the showroom, they're in an immersive, rich experience. The user is still communicating with Copilot, so it's a three-way conversation. As the user asks more questions from Copilot, they can actually see that the showroom will change. This means that the showroom ads are personalized to the user. It has a generative UI, which means it takes your assets, your rich assets, which can include immersive video, and update the showroom as this conversation continues. You will notice that we have multiple CTAs or call to actions in showroom ads. So eventually, the advertiser does want an outcome. The outcome could be that the user builds a car, they take a test drive, or they view inventory and go to a local dealership. And so these CTAs allow the user to interact and achieve an outcome. We're really excited to pilot this with Mercedes, and we have learned a lot of things during this pilot. And so as we build this product out, we are going to collect your feedback and build it along with you. If we go to the next product, as I said, we approached it from two edges. The first edge was, what is the right ad format to use in a conversation? And the second was, what would advertisers need in this agentic internet? We all know that the traffic to websites are decreasing because a lot of the users are having their conversations with their companions. Now, as actions take place, we expect that these companions will reach out to other agents. This means we're moving from an internet of websites to an internet of agents. Brand agents are our way of approaching this problem by providing the brand an agent that's their virtual representative on the internet. If you think of a website which has a slew of assets, a slew of sites, think of fluidly navigating that website with your brand agent. Again, we are live with this pilot right now with a few customers, and I'm going to show you the demo. Actually, it's live, so you can go to the website and check it out. How we're working with this client to get brand agents live. And then later on, I will talk to a few people to discuss how these two things will come together. If we play the demo, actually, I should stop calling a demo because it's in production live site. And when something goes wrong, I get a ticket saying that the site is down. So this is Brava Fabrics in Spain. They were our first customer to pilot brand agents with us. You will notice on the left-hand side that there is a chatbot, or this is actually an agentic interface. Now, if the user clicks on that agentic interface, they will open essentially a conversational agent with the brand. The brand agent is actually tied to the entire catalog of the brand, to the CRM, to the checkout systems. So the agent is actually very aware of how the site is constructed and what the user can do on the site. If you play the video, so here the user is now chatting with the agent on the site. They're going to Cannes and they're looking for a dress. And so the agent comes back with a few options for the user. Now the user asks for something with stripes. I didn't know this, but apparently stripes are an in thing right now in Cannes. And so the agent comes back and says, hey, I found the perfect thing for you for Cannes. Now the user can add to cart and they realize that it's not available in their size. And so they come back to the chat agent and say, hey, it's not available in medium. At this point in time, the agent knows that the user wears a medium-sized dress, and they present other options in medium. Now the user can immediately add to cart and check out if they really like the dress. One thing that we noticed that we put this agent out on Brava is that the first issue we resolved for Brava was not something complicated. We actually resolved search for them. Searching through their products, through the catalog, figuring out what the user wants was way simpler talking to an agent versus actually perusing the catalog. Now the user adds it to cart, they check out, and Brava actually knows, the agent actually knows when the user comes back, it's in their CRM, and we can actually track that this user has purchased something before from Brava. Now, moving on, I said, we are approaching it from the edges. We're doing these brand agents, and we're doing showroom ads. Eventually, you should imagine that when we build these showroom ads, the idea would be we would invoke the showroom, which is the window in the conversational space, and then invite your brand agent to participate in the showroom. So everything we are doing for the advertiser, eventually your agent should be able to represent your voice, your values, your fonts, your brand logo. They should be able to come into the showroom and participate in that conversation between Copilot and the user. Moving on, the one thing that we realize is that for advertisers, all of these concepts, you're throwing many things at them at the same time. So you also have to build tools that they can easily use. You have to build campaigns that go across surfaces. And so when we think about building advertiser tools, and we've been doing this for the past 2 years, we know that they need to do asset generation. They actually need to generate lots of rich assets to really be personalized to the user. They need to have campaigns that can serve on search, that can serve on audiences. And so we were very lucky to partner with Samsung. End of last year, Samsung was going through with their new product, the Samsung Galaxy S25. And we were very lucky that they chose us as one of their strategic partners. And they leveraged many of our tools to use Performance Max campaigns. These are AI campaigns that are hybrid campaigns that work on search, that work on Copilot, and they work on audiences. So if you're using MSN, gaming, they also work on those surfaces. They brought their catalog in, and they were active participants in Bing. They were active participants in Copilot. And through Performance Max, they saw considerable success. So on the revenue side, they saw a 1.4x growth in revenue and a greater than 2% improvement in return on ad spend. I'm really thrilled that they worked with us and we could do the study with them. And I'm going to invite two people who were very active participants in the study. Simona, who actually runs the Samsung direct-to-commerce in Germany, and Ali from Publicis and Starcom, who is the agency that set these campaigns up live and now is very successful with these campaigns. So welcome to the stage. How are you both doing?
Good. Excited
Yes.
to be here. Yes.
And we're very excited to have you here too.
Yeah, we were talking just, you took all of our notes right now, so we can go off the stage now. Just kidding.
So Simona, as you were building the plans for marketing this new product,
Yeah.
you chose to, I think we have to keep this next to our chin. So you chose to have us
Yeah.
as your strategic advertising partner.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more?
I think it started 1998. No, just kidding. You were talking about AI. Maybe you're thinking about AI back then, but we started to look deeper into this 2024.
Yeah.
Where we looked in the campaigns and said, so, okay, what's next? How is the performance doing right now? And it was like, okay, that's not the end of it. So let's look into it, how we can leverage all the AI tools. And the team was pretty persistent in looking into what's possible with AI and what kind of tools you're providing. And yeah, that's when we started to think about, especially from a budget efficiency perspective as well, and reducing time to market. And number three, especially generating sales. That's the KPIs I'm leveraged on.
Right,
So on a daily basis, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's why when it started, and all this came together, Starcom agency and Microsoft came together on the table. And we had all these tools with PMax and Copilot and started really to think about how we can leverage this. And the pilot for PMax and Copilot started for Black Friday. And this was very exciting because Black Friday is the most important campaign of the year.
I agree. Yes.
With a huge impact on revenue, as
Yeah.
you can imagine. Yeah, and the results were pretty great. But I think on some of the results, Ali will touch base in a little bit. Just from two perspectives, key points from the campaign perspective.
Right.
Point number one, it was very important for us, and we learned this the hard way, to be honest. Copying Google strategy is not the right way to do it. So, folks, be aware.
It's great advice.
It's not working. So, really, you need a tailored strategy for Bing itself. It has a completely different audience, has completely different signals. And it really worked that we were thinking about how our audience, how our target groups are within this Bing and search and PMX campaigns.
Yeah.
And the second one was, as you said before, PMAX is a variety of ad formats from product ads to
Native
display ads, the
display
multi
ads.
ads.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
That was pretty great to see how. And that's when we had the campaign running from Black Friday, the results were pretty good. We adapted to the S25 launch because, as you can imagine, we are not allowed to do like a testing on the most important flagship of the year.
Right.
So that's why, yeah. And we still learning day by day, to be honest.
And we're learning with you. So
Yeah, that's great.
Ali, the next question's for you. And can you give us like concrete examples of how you used AI and what this audience can learn from your usage?
Sure. So I'll take the first step, which is when you run a campaign on Microsoft Stack, specifically with PMax now, we're talking about the Gen AI, the agentic experience. So when a user look for something, you get these ads. First of all, Microsoft was the first partner that started testing with paid. I think many other partners are still scared because I think it has a very big implication on the revenue, on the consumer journey. Brands are not, they're scared, honestly, because it's such a new thing. You moved from showing multiple ads to consumer to most probably you're going to give them less synthesized solution. So being the first, I think, helps a lot. It helps us test early on.
Yep.
And I think because it's new, the consumer, we're clicking more, converting more. It's still a new format. The second piece of it, as agencies that we working with Samsung, we run their agency, their media globally. When you run and you use Copilot within your campaign,
Yes.
it makes a lot of difference for the teams. On every campaign, you have couple dozens of people, depending the size, that used to spend their day looking at the data,
Pulling
thousands
the
of
data.
those,
Yes.
looking at them, trying to be smart. Where do I add strategies? What can I do? What small thing can I do to drive more sales? And Simone is happy.
Right.
Now with AI, you can spend less time thinking about all of these because you can query almost everything
Right.
and ask the copilot saying, what is the tactic that drove the most conversion? When was I more successful? And the results come to you.
Yeah.
And the second part on reporting, which clients still want to see a lot of data coming out of these campaigns. With Copilot, it takes a second to generate all these reports and share them
Right,
with
right.
our partners. So I think on both sides, from a consumer perspective and with the innovation and internally within the ad stack, we found a lot of success across. And I think you saw the results year on year, 1.4. So
Yeah.
143% increase on sales. And I think it's both like having more time to spend on the strategy, but also the product works so far. So
Making it easy to diagnose and optimize.
yes.
It's actually, as the engineer working in the background and measuring session success rate for Copilot on the advertiser platform, it gives me real genuine pleasure when there's a customer success story.
Yeah, like we always tell client of ours, nobody's gonna be ever better than the platform in their own house. So you
Yeah.
guys know what you're building. Using your Copilot within it would always help us in figuring out these things.
Thank you. Next question is for both of you. This audience has, marketers, it has agencies, it has advertisers. What would your advice be to this crew in terms of, how they should adopt AI? Where should they be testing? Should they be doing pilots? Like, should they sit back and wait for the train to get stable, or should they actively participate? Like, what's your advice for this crew?
I think it's a success because everyone was very keen to look into it, and especially the dedication of the teams to really look what's next and what's new. I think 4 key takeaways. Yesterday I had 3. I put in 1 more today.
Yeah.
So 4 key takeaways would be really be brave. So don't be afraid to really fail. Establish a test and learn culture. So I think that we are just at the surface of what's really coming. Be data driven. We're not talking about you're talking about a link between the CRM and so on. So
Yeah.
use your first party data in combination with the signals and the audiences from Microsoft and Copilot, and this will really boost and accelerate the sales and as well from the campaigns. 3 would be budget efficiency or be efficient. So in terms of really budget and strategy, what you said, time,
Continuously
measure.
measure.
Exactly, continuously measure. And number 4 is be here. So meaning you were talking about complex situations and so on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think you need to be, the term is very old, the right ad at the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
But I think now with the AIs from Microsoft and Copilot, we are actually there. And
Yes.
Paul said yesterday something like from wow to now. So we are there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think the shift is pretty much towards conversational commerce. So, and we are pretty happy that we are one of the first movers, and I really like to be for the next couple of as well.
Yes. Be brave. That's the message I'm taking away from you. Ali, what would your advice look like?
As agency with our client, we always push them to test. I would always say the 80-20 rules, especially in this world, it's coming. So there is no way you're going to hide behind it. And it's coming fast. And you'd rather test and do more versus waiting. And the second thing I want to say is, and you can't just test once and say, I've tested Copilot,
right.
I've tested Gen AI, I've tested something, because every campaign for a Samsung, for example, is different. So S25, we were talking yesterday, is a full funnel. So when you're testing with PMax, it works perfectly well. You're working across the funnel, across different format. Where the consumer is, it might derive a certain results.
Right.
But if it's one of the lower pricing handheld, you might be want to only drive a lower funnel strategy,
Right,
for example.
right.
And the results will be different. The
Yes.
product might work for one, not for the other. And you, as a partner of ours, also need that feedback from us. So
Right.
I always say test all of the scenarios that you have within your business
And
see
use your human intelligence
what works,
and
what doesn't work,
intuition.
and then you iterate, because your
Yes.
product is never stale. Like, you're gonna change tomorrow, and you're gonna improve based on the results that you see from
Right,
everybody.
right.
So definitely test.
You heard me talk about 2 new products, the showroom ads and the brand agents. And we had an earlier chat about how, this agentic internet, how is it going to evolve? From your perspective, what's next for our partnership? Are you going to be brave to try these?
I'm already in. Yeah, I think it's very strategic collaboration with all the teams from Microsoft Copilot and everyone from my team and the Starcom agency. And as I said before, first mover is very happy. And we are talking I'm talking from a D2C perspective, but as you said, we are talking full funnel and the customer doesn't care if I'm the D2C head and the other one is whatever doing from marketing brand awareness. So the full funnel needs to be done. And I think collaborating with everyone at Samsung and on the partners would be great to see. And pilots, I think it's always the best to see as what's next.
You help shape the product at the end.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
pilots.
And I think it's pretty great because Samsung is very complex in this manner. So
Yeah.
I think it would be very great to see what's next.
Excited about that. How about you, Ali?
Definitely same thing. So you should test, you should start early on, and you
Yeah.
should understand, because it's coming either way.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being partners with us. Thank you. Welcome to the stage, Erin Manavaglu, who builds most of these products. And I will tell
everyone.
if you go on to the next slide, I'm going to bring back this complex slide of brand agents and showroom ads and how they will connect. And one thing we didn't really talk about, and we heard a lot from customers, is when a user is having these long form conversations with Copilot, how do you plan to send an informed user to their site? Like this, we have this concept called relevant context sending to the advertiser. How are you thinking about this strategy?
So you used to call this the warm handoff.
Yes.
How are we thinking about it now?
Yeah.
I would say we've been talking about hyper-personalization for a long time. In fact, we've been talking about personalization for as long as I've been in ads, and that's about 17 years, long time. How is it different this time? I think as a user, one of the big changes I see in myself when using something like a conversational agent is that I have this expectation that the thing I'm conversing with already knows my preferences because I mentioned those things. Now, when I tell, Copilot, hey, I like white toe boxes in shoes, and then, I see results that are not white toe box. I'm like, why did you lose this information? The point of informed sending an informed user, or the point about this user context, is being able to pass this relevant information to the brand agent, to whoever is on the other side. Today, it may just be a search interface. Tomorrow, it may be agent. But we need to pass users' preferences to the brands, to the advertisers, so that they can match to it. In fact, I would say this is one of the big questions I get from travel advertisers most of the time.
Yeah.
They're like, why are you not telling us what this user, is really looking for? The big thing with LLMs is now doing this exchange becomes much more easier, right? Previously, it used to be, well, can I match the user ID? But is this private, not private? Is the user freaked out about it? Now, we do have this LLM, technology, which allows us to summarize whatever is critical for that particular conversation and pass that on. You don't need to share the entire history of that user. Your favorite example is you go into a shoe store and you tell someone, hey, my shoe size is X, and then they show you shoes about that shoe size, right? Obviously, they see that you are a woman.
Yes.
And in my case, they may guess that my style is not necessarily, very trendy. But in the end, they are not sharing the information about where I come from, what, my history was, do I have health conditions. There's no need to share all of this. What you need to share is what is relevant for what the user is trying to accomplish at that time, but it needs to be in real time. It needs to be, there has to be something about my long-term preferences that I mentioned before, and it needs to be about that current context. So these are the things that we are trying to do in this, warm handoff, or selective disclosure is another way to think about it.
Yes.
That's the key problem to solve for us.
Right. I also want to bring up that we have thought about, like, okay, let's say the user's having this conversation about shoes, and I'm 6.5. So I send to the shoe store that I'm wearing a 6.5. This is a woman who's wearing 6.5 shoes. She's looking for something in white, and I send this information to the advertiser site. Of course, you need the advertiser site now to parse this information and not land me on a generic search page, but on a very custom page for me. That's where the user value comes in. This is one of the reasons we thought about the brand agent, because we thought static websites will no longer be as relevant, because you will be sending this very custom calls, and the website has to now adapt. When you think about this adaptation and brand agents, how do you think that, how are we going to take the next few steps? And then at some point, there'll be agent to agent. So I'll come to agent in a bit.
I do think we will spend some time in this middle space where we are actually doing user agent to advertiser agent in a natural language, right? Like brand agent is bringing the advertiser agent to the picture. User is already talking to an agent in these cases already. Right. But the interface is this natural language. It's easy to explain to the user. Like in your example, we didn't talk about privacy as much. I did mention that we will only share as much information as necessary, but as a user, you probably still want to have some control over what I am sending to the advertiser. I can show it to you in natural language. I can say, this is the information I'm going to share with the providers, right? Whoever the brand agent is going to be on the other side. And the user might actually even edit what you are sending. Maybe they will say, add the fact that I have bursitis. It really matters for my heel comfort, right? Maybe they will freak out if they see something like that, and they will want to remove it. So this is how we should be starting, in my opinion.
Full transparency.
Basically, you have transparency. You give the user control over which information is going to pass on to brand agent. But then over time, as these agents get better at understanding, actually there is really no understanding at this point, is my personal opinion. It's illusion of understanding. But as they get better at parsing this information and basically being able to represent what the user does not want to share better, I expect that the user's need for controlling the agent as much will go away over time. But we will start with control, we will start with transparency, and we will start with giving the user the ability to change what it is that we are sending.
I think we got the user context, sending it to the brand agent. How do you think of these? So far, we've primarily looked at brand agents with, medium to torso advertisers. And one of the reasons is because we have felt that the large brands will really want to control the brand narrative.
Right.
How do you think of, will it always be an agent that we build? Can we invite a third party agent? Like, how do you think of these brand agents evolving?
I think there are two schools of thought that I am aware, at least. One is agents will be completely commoditized, and it won't matter which agent you are using. There could be hundreds, thousands of agent providers out there. Another thought is that they are expensive. There will be a dominant, set of players. There will still be some choice, 4 or 5. Actually, from our perspective, it really doesn't matter who's building the agent.
Yes.
I will provide that functionality as Microsoft, but we are open. We are all about interoperability at this point. It will be an open framework. We will work with any agent that's there. The important thing is you're getting to SMBs, of course, the smaller advertisers.
Smaller advertisers, yes.
They need to have some options that are more out of box. And maybe there needs to be some specialization for these different
Verticals.
customers that are in different verticals. There are very niche areas that a specialized agent is a better option for them than some,
Out of the box
general agent. So I totally see basically that there will always be some room for specialized, agent providers, frameworks out there. So the assemblies definitely need, more of this, more automated support.
Right.
Right? The idea is to reduce the time it takes for them to manage this. The idea is to be able to get the reach to them. Now, again, I do think there's a little bit of a challenge there in terms of trying to extract what is it that is not working out,
Yes.
so that we can actually build it into the agent framework to improve over time with respect to the outcomes they want. And that's going to be the key part. But I do not expect to see there to be a single agent provider, and we will definitely, as Microsoft, not only work with whatever agent Microsoft provides.
We always bring our customers along.
Customer needs to be the focus.
You answered two of the most frequent. This I should convert this into an FAQ now, because these were the two most frequent questions we got. One was, how are you going to send an informed user to us? And then, okay, if we want to build our own agent, how will that agent participate in your marketplace? The third question we got is now taking us a little bit further along. Let's say there's agent to agent conversations, like a user comes in and gives an RFP. Hey, I'm looking for a shoe. I have bursitis. I need wide. Go find me the best shoes in the marketplace. And this agent then reaches out to thousands of other agents, and then bring these agents into a marketplace. A few of the questions that we are getting is, okay, how are you going to bring these agents into your marketplace? What does this look like? Is it going to be like a search page where you show all the... So can you kind of visualize? We're not there yet. You're barely there with the brand agents. But can you visualize for this audience, in this agent-to-agent world, what will this auction look like? What will this marketplace look like?
Actually, if you just look at under the hoods, the marketplace dynamics is unlikely to change a lot. It's just that what is the value? The thing that brings value is the thing that needs to be redefined if we are looking at it from an economic perspective. Today, still in search, the thing that advertisers pay for is click. Click is well understood. Now everybody is kind of concerned because click is going away. It's true. A lot of the time the research is going away. So not all clicks are going away, but a lot of the clicks are going away. What do you do in this case? You do have to consider the fact that if you do not have the information, there's no value for the user. Like I, as a user, if I thought my agent is only looking at one brand to give me options, I would not be using that agent. So information has value, and we need to be able to come up with a model that considers information as value. Now, in existing system, click is such a simple thing to track, such a simple thing to define, that we hardly think about it. In the new world, you need to think about what does it mean? What is information? What is the value of information? Is it the same for everyone who participates in this in this marketplace. And let me play this out a little bit more. Before you actually go purchase something, there will be a request for information. And there might be a separate request for proposal to actually get price information, right? The request for information itself is useful. Again, personally, if somebody tells me I've only looked at one source, I'm not buying anything there. We need to have value distributed to everyone who's participating in this market. Actually, this thought is not that new to us. To be completely honest, we have this problem in conversion attribution itself. For those of you who worry about what was actually responsible for a sale that happened, many people know most of the industry still uses last touch attribution, but reality is you need to do multi-touch attribution. This is what most customers are trying to do. And this is the problem that actually this figuring out the information value turns into that same problem. So problem definitions are not very different. It is that, it will get a little bit more difficult to solve it. It's a little bit more complex, but we will figure it out as we go. I can't tell you that we've figured it all out, as you know.
Yes, yes.
Not all the pieces are there, but this is the framework in which we are talking about.
Yeah. In abstract terms, you're saying you have to clearly define what information you're providing as a brand agent, what is differentiated, what is value add, and then for whatever marketplace we run, to value this information in a way that people want to participate. The marketplace is liquid.
Exactly. So actually, you did mention something I should have mentioned already. Maybe imagine again the travel scenario.
Yeah.
If we already know the user is interested or the consumer is interested in a particular chain or particular property, there are many different places you could book that property from. Why would I pick one
Over another.
versus the other? The thing that you need to convey to the user is less about what that property is, because the property is the same across all providers. What distinguishes the providers is the most critical thing. So when we need to build, obviously, this registry of agents somewhere, like the regular index, needs to be replaced with a registry of agents. That differentiation factor needs to be there. I think I'm running over time, so I will stop here. Any further questions, do come and find us.
Yes. So I think you addressed 3 of the most important questions we got here. We'll work with Kaya to put this in an FAQ. And then as we work on these problems and strategies and this thinking, we actively welcome your participation. We are not doing this alone. We are really doing it with you. Thank you. Thank you, Erin.